and I will ask for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wimbush. Ms. Wimbush, do you wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to first tell you that I am not an attorney. And just like David, that ruddy little Hebrew shepherd boy, when he went up against Goliath, refused King Saul's armor because he had not tested it, I do not seek to put on the mantle of an attorney. So please accept my apologies for having to read to you my opening statement. You see, I'm just like all of you, a layperson. The only difference is that I'm accused of a crime, and you are not. Or that I am dressed in Gwinnett County Jail issue greens, and you are dressed in regular clothes. There are two major lessons that I've learned in my life. That it is easier to believe a lie than it is to believe the truth. Let me say that again. It is easier to believe a lie than it is to believe the truth. Number two, that education is the first line of defense to prevent lies from being believed. Again, education is the first line of defense. These are lessons that I've learned by living. So you may be wondering what my journey through life has been. Well, I'll tell you, I define myself as a wife and a mother. Yet, I know in this world, most folks define us by what we have accomplished on paper. In that respect, I have a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics from Spelman College. Yes, magna cum laude. A Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering from Georgia Tech, where I met the man of my dreams. Yes, cum laude. I also have a Master's of Business Administration and Management from Nova Southeastern University, summa cum laude. But I do not define myself by any of these. I define myself, and more importantly, I determine my self-worth by the wife and mother that I am. For these two mean the world to me. So no, I don't have any legal training, any legal education, or any legal experience. In fact, I've never seen a trial in person, nor any on television. But like David fought a bear and a lion to save his sheep and showed himself fearless in the face of Goliath, we fight for the family. It is the most important and fundamental aspect of life and is the foundation of a true democracy. So let's talk about the lie on paper. That is easier to believe than the truth, which is the fact that it is a lie. The lie is that we caused two of our children, two of our biological sons, who happen to be polar opposites, cruel and excessive mental and physical pain, and that we denied one vitamin D. But the truth is, we have in no way caused either of our 10 biological, yes, I birthed every one of them, less one C-section with twins, all natural births, and Dad coached me through each and every one. Nevertheless, we have in no way caused either of our 10 biological children cruel and excessive mental nor physical pain, nor have we deprived our oldest son of vitamin D. The truth instead is that we teach all of our children and ensure that they have quality of life, not for the moment, but for the duration of their life. Our acronym for TEACH is train, educate, appreciate, correct, and hold. By correct, I mean to discipline, and by to hold, I mean to protect. In fact, we believe that parents' primary responsibility is to teach their children, placing a strong emphasis on protecting them, and protection comes in many forms. It could be protection from others, and sometimes it could be protection from one's own self. Recall, I also said that I have learned that education is the first line of defense. One question you might have is, what exactly is the charge of cruelty to children? Do you mind, Judge Fluker, if I use the board and markers?
let me, the whiteboard in the corner over
Yes,
there?
ma'am.
All right, let me see, Mr. Bell, if I can get your assistance.
I'm sorry.
Are there markers with the board?
Thank you, sir.
You could position it. All right, you can proceed, thank you.
One question you might have is, what exactly is the charge of cruelty to children? Is it when a child is a couch potato, or when they are obese for lack of exercise, or possibly when they experience depression due to their parents separating or getting a divorce? Or how about the mental pain they suffer from having to choose which of those parents they will live with without hurting the other's feelings? Or could it be when a child has low iron? Well, until I was accused of cruelty to children, I didn't know either. So I set out to learn exactly what it was. I learned that there are 4 different types: first degree part A, first degree part B, second degree, and third degree. And truthfully, every parent needs to know all 4 types. Well, we are accused of 3 of the 4: first degree part A and part B, and second degree. So you and I are both tasked with seeking out to identify the various essential elements, which are, in first degree part A, is 1, the defendant is the parent or guardian or other person in charge of the child. Two, the child is under 18. 3, the defendant willfully deprived the child of necessary food and drink, sufficient to support life. And 4, that the deprivation of food and drink jeopardize the child's health or well-being. Those are the 4 essential elements of cruelty to children, first degree, part A. First degree, part B. One, The child is under 18. Two, that there exists evidence that the child suffered mental or physical pain. Three, that the pain was cruel and excessive. Four, that the defendants caused the pain. And five, that the defendants acted maliciously when causing the pain. Now, as for the second degree charge, it only differs in the first degree part B in number 5. And the difference is it changes from acting maliciously to that the defendants acted with criminal negligence. When causing the pain. And those are our charges. So there's a lot to look for in this case. With that said, I can't tell you what the state's evidence will show you, as there are only 12 people that lived in our home, 10 of which are children, nine of whom were interviewed by the police and gave testimony. So I hope that the state's case is built on their testimony, and even that you will be able to view those interviews that they did with the police by video. I have to say, if I should shed tears when I see and am able to see and to speak to my very own children, just know that it is because it's been over 31 months since I've been able to see or talk to them.
Your Honor, I have to object. Based upon the motion of limine, the court has previously made a ruling on this testimony and ruled it inadmissible, and I ask that the jury be instructed to disregard it.
All right, Ms. Wimbush, I did make a ruling on that. I do find that your remarks and opening statement are in violation of the court's ruling, so I'm going to instruct the jury to disregard the last statement made by Ms. Wimbush, and I'll ask you to move on then.
Okay. Nevertheless, I will say at the end of this case, you will see that we have not in any way caused either of our children cruel and excessive mental or physical pain. You may say that we are different, odd, strange, or even bizarre, but what you will not say is that we have caused either of our children cruel and excessive mental or physical pain. So now I have a mission for each of you. Look to your inner childlike spirit and treat this trial like a scavenger hunt, where you are the fact finders, even the truth seekers, seeking to find the pieces to the puzzle that describes cruelty to children in 3 different ways that I covered over here on this board. I assure you that you will find some pieces, as we are parents of 10 biological children, 6 girls and 4 boys, that are all under the age of 18. But you will be disappointed in the end because the remaining pieces will be missing. And so at the end of this trial, the state would not have met its burden of proof, which is proving each and every essential element beyond a reasonable doubt. And accordingly, I will ask you to return a verdict of not guilty, I'm sorry. And I will ask you to return a verdict of not guilty. Before I close, I'd like to address the opening statement by the state. He gave you a description of our life. Definitely our homeschooling parents. Trying to think of everything that he said. He was telling our story. All of our children share one bedroom, the master bedroom. They all have a twin size mattress and box spring, and it's like this play area, if you will. The rest of our home, 5-bedroom home. We have a Lego room where literally it's Legos all in this room, organized very well. In our home, we have what we call the toy room, where literally it's shelves and books and toys and all those things. We have a knitting/sewing room. You can tell we do a lot of arts and crafts, a lot of learning through application. And we have the last bedroom where Dad and I sleep, which is typically called the sleep room as well. And I'll tell you, the state is correct. At some point, Recardo decided that his room would be in the basement. Did his parents send him down there to stay? No, they didn't. He made a choice. And that choice was his. Was he forced to stay in a room without social interaction or without mental stimulation? No, he wasn't. But Recardo was disobedient in some ways. In those ways, I'll let him tell you. I'll let him tell you his story. I'll let him tell you his facts, his justifications, his reasonings, so that you can decide. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wimbush. If I could get the assistance of the bailiffs in removing the whiteboard, please. All right, we have all parties here in the court, Mr. Mayfield, both of the defendants, and standby counsel. And I want to address the camera person who's in the courtroom. I'm receiving information that when court is in recess, that there is either some live streaming going on while we're in recess. When court is in recess during any breaks, there should not be any videotaping, audio recording, or live streaming of any kind. I don't know, that's just the information that I have, but that should not happen when we're in recess. So.
My camera's off when I go out, it's not on.
All right, I just want to ensure that you understand that is the rules for allowing you to remain in the courtroom.
I've not had it on. When I leave out, I turn it off.
Okay.
Judge Booker, I wanted to address the objection to the statements that I made in the opening statement. As a part of Mr. Mayfield's motion in limine, he addressed not mentioning that I was incarcerated and without bail. There was nothing in the motion, and I don't remember anything in the order granting that motion about stating anything about not having seen my children.
Well, as part of what is going on in juvenile court, which is a separate proceeding, which is the basis for you not being allowed to see the children, that is not relevant in this case as to the determination of guilt or innocence, and that has been addressed.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, do we have all of our jurors yet? Okay. Anything else while they're checking the status of the jurors, Mr. Mayfield, that you need to address?
I'll just need 30 seconds before we know the jury's coming back so that I can get Ricardo positioned.
Okay. And let's also, while they're checking the jury status, if we can place on the record who you anticipate the first minor child witness to be, and who will be in the room, and who will be in camera range.
Yes, Your Honor. The child testifying will be Ricardo Wimbush Jr. He will be in the presence of his aunt, Tia Wimbush. There may be one technical person present in the room, but other than that, the room has been evacuated to help reduce the noise level and so forth. So they'll be in the room alone.
All right, so there will be one technical camera operator or two?
One.
All right, so before we bring the jury in, I would want to get everyone positioned in the room, have everyone identify themselves outside the presence of the jury.
Yes.
Anything else on that issue, Ms. Wimbush? No, ma'am. Mr. Wimbush? No. All right, the jurors are ready? Sure. I don't want them in yet, I just want to know if they're ready. They are? All right, then we can go ahead and get everyone positioned.
Go ahead and put Ricardo in his place. And Tia. Okay. Tia, is anybody else in the room other than you two and Frank Sapella, the technical guy?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Sapella, if you could just say something, state your name so that I know that you are the person that's present.
My name is Recardo.
All right, Mr. Sapella, Frank Sapella, can you hear me?
Yes, Judge, I can.
All right, and just state your name for the record.
Frank Sapella.
All right, and are you in the room operating as the technical operator of the equipment?
I am.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Mayfield?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Wimbush?
I have one question. Is this two-way?
Yes, they can see and hear me and you. One question, Hyatt, for the record, when the attorneys are questioning, will they face the TV?
Judge, the podium is facing the camera, so they'll be able to see everything.
All right, so Mr. and Mrs. Wimbush, you'll be able to see by looking forward at the TV. For questioning, you'll come to the podium and face the small TV. They will be able to see and hear you. Okay. All right, very good. Any other questions? Mr. Wimbush is shaking his head no. All right, we're ready for the jury then. Ladies and gentlemen, you will see a television screen to your left on the wall. The first witness for the state, and I let him introduce, will be testifying from a remote location by video. There is a camera set up in the room where the witness is, as well as cameras in this courtroom. So it's a two-way system. The witness can see and hear what is going on in the courtroom, and we can see and hear what is going on in the witness room. Mr. Mayfield, I'll ask that you call your first witness. Identify the person that is seated next to the witness for the record, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the state calls Ricardo Wimbush Jr. to testify in this case. Are you Ricardo Wimbush Jr.?
Yes.
Yeah, and who's that sitting next to you, Ricardo?
Aunt Tia.
Okay. Ricardo, you know that we're here in court, and you and I talked on Wednesday, and you said you'd never seen court or seen court on TV. Do you understand that court is a very important event?
Yes.
And do you realize that it's very important to tell the truth when you are in court?
Yes.
And you understand that telling the truth has consequences here. And do you promise that you will tell the truth in court today?
Yes.
Okay, great, Ricardo. Well, listen, I told you that we would be talking today. First, I want to talk just a little bit about you. When were you born? What's your date of birth, and how old are you?
July 9, 2000. I am 16.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your life with your parents and the house that you grew up. Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
It was good before
Did you have lots of siblings?
Yes.
Did you enjoy spending time with them?
Yes.
What sort of activities did y'all do in the house when you were growing up?
We would like play with toys and go outside.
Okay.
Let me inquire the jury, are you all able to hear, or do you need it a little bit louder? It's good?
It's fine. It's
All right.
fine.
Very good, okay.
All right. And what about your schooling? How did you get your schooling, Ricardo?
We were homeschooled.
All right. And who was your teacher?
Our mother.
All right. And your mom and dad's names?
Recardo, Wimbush, and Therian, Wimbush.
All right. Did y'all have pets?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
We had a dog, a cat, and I haven't seen it, but I also know that they had rabbits, birds, and a lizard.
Okay. Tell me, were there a lot of books in the house and activities and things to do all the time?
Yes.
Was there like a portable DV player in the house
Yes.
where you could watch movies?
Yes.
How did you use that? Did you have to ask permission to use it?
Yes.
Did that DVD player belong to any one person in the house? Was it a gift maybe to one sibling or to you or to somebody else?
No.
Who all used it?
Everybody.
How many of them were there? Do you remember?
I think it was 2.
Okay. All right. Were you supposed to ask permission before you watched the movie?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ricardo, was there a day that came where you stopped living in the sleeping room? Will you talk about the sleeping room that you and your siblings slept in?
It was 9 days.
Okay. Did everybody sleep in the same room?
Yes.
And when you were 12, had you been sleeping in that room with your siblings your whole life?
Yes.
All right. Did there come a day when you were about 12 that you stopped sleeping in the sleeping room?
Yes.
And where did you start sleeping?
In the basement.
Tell me about when you first started sleeping in the basement. Tell me about what you were sleeping on.
I was sleeping on a black mat.
On a black mat?
Yes.
Okay. Was it your idea to go sleep in the basement?
No.
Did you want to be sleeping with your siblings in the sleeping room?
Yes.
Well, why did you start sleeping in the basement on a mat?
I had done something wrong, but I don't remember what it was.
Okay. So, were you sent there as punishment for whatever it is you had done wrong?
Yes.
Now, when you first started sleeping in the basement, were you still able to play with all of your siblings and come upstairs and enjoy life with them?
No.
How much did you get to see your siblings when you first started living in the basement?
Very few times. Usually when they would come outside, they would pass by the model.
All right. Well, the room that you were in to start with, what did you call that room?
It was an exercise room.
Was it a big room or a little room?
It was big.
It was big. Okay. And if everybody wanted to go outside to play in the backyard, how would they go to get there?
Through the basement.
All right. Would they go through the exercise room?
No.
Okay. But that's where you saw your siblings after you started living in the basement. Is that right?
Yes.
When you were sleeping in the basement, did you spend your days upstairs with your siblings playing games and watching movies and going to school?
No.
Okay. All right. So, Did there come a day where you stopped living in the exercise room and moved to a different room?
Yes.
Do you remember that day?
Yes.
Tell me about how you came to be in the other room.
My parents wanted to use the exercise room, so they had cleaned out the closet that was next to it, so I could sleep in there.
Okay. And did they leave anything in the closet for you?
I don't remember.
All right. When you started sleeping in that closet, did you still use your roll, your bed roll, your mat, or did you get a bed?
At first, I had been using the mat, and then shortly after, my parents had moved my bed down there.
Okay. Now, what about how you were eating? Were you coming upstairs and eating with the rest of the family?
No.
Well, how did you eat, Ricardo?
One of my parents would bring me down food.
Okay. So did there come a time where you got bored being in that room?
Yes.
All right. What did you do to relieve your boredom?
I had gone upstairs and taken a DVD player.
Did you ask permission before you did that?
No.
Did you ask permission to go upstairs?
No.
Well, how did you get upstairs without being seen?
I think everybody had been asleep when I went up there.
Okay. So you went upstairs. What did you get?
A DVD player.
Did you get anything else that you recall?
Yes, I had also been taking food from up there too.
Okay. And did you take your DVD player and the food back to your room?
Yes.
Where did you put them?
I had been hiding the DVD player in the box spring of the bed.
Okay. All right. Did your parents find out about that?
Yes.
What happened? Were you punished?
And spanked and
We'll need to go back.
I'm sorry. Will you say that sentence again? The TV cut out for just a second. Can you repeat it, please?
I said I had been spanked and that was it.
Okay. All right. So you're in the basement. How old were you when you were in the basement?
How old was I?
Mm-hmm.
12.
Okay. When you first went into the basement?
Yes.
Do you know how old you were when you went into the closet room?
I think I was also 12.
All right. Okay, so you went up, you got a DVD player, and you got in trouble for that. Did anything else happen about going upstairs?
No.
All right. Did you ever go upstairs any other times other than that one time where you got the DVD player?
Yes.
And were you caught that time?
Yes.
Who caught you?
My dad.
All right. So were you supposed to be upstairs?
No.
So what happened?
I had been beat and after I had been sent back down to the basement, I had tried to run away through the basement door.
So the night after you were caught upstairs by your dad, you tried to run away?
Yes.
So what did you do to get ready to run away? What did you take with you?
A sleeping bag.
Why did you decide to run away?
Because I didn't want to face the consequences for having gone back upstairs.
Okay. And what were those consequences going to be, did you believe?
Spanking.
Okay. So you decided to run away. Did you say that you took a sleeping roll with you, a sleeping bag?
Yeah.
What else did you take? Anything else?
That was it.
That was it? Where did you go?
Yeah. I was just walking. I didn't know where I was going.
Did you have a plan? Were you going to go visit a niece or a nephew or an uncle or a cousin, or what were your plans?
I didn't have any plans.
All right. So you went out the back door of the house. Then where did you go?
I'm not sure where I went. I had just been walking.
Okay. How long were you outside of the house before you talked to somebody?
About 30 to 45 minutes.
And who did you talk to first?
It was a police officer, I think.
Okay. Well, can you tell me about that? Did he want to talk to you?
Yes.
What did he ask you?
He asked me what my name was.
Okay. What did you tell him?
I gave him a name that wasn't mine
Okay. Why did you do that, Ricardo?
because I didn't want to go back home.
All right. Did you talk for a long time to this police officer?
I had talked to him for a while, and then another police officer had come.
Did you tell them where you had come from? What did you tell them first?
First I gave them a fake name, and then eventually I had told them what my real name was and where I had lived.
Okay. So did you tell him what your parents' names was?
I think so.
Did he call your mom? Did your mom come there?
Yeah.
She did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what happened when your mom came? It was you, the policeman, and your mom. What happened then?
The police officer had talked to my mom, and then we went home.
Okay. Did you tell the policeman that you were sleeping in a closet in the basement?
No,
Well, why did you not tell him that, Ricardo?
it didn't cross my mind to tell him that.
Did you tell the policeman why you ran away?
Yes.
And what did you tell him?
I told him that I had gone upstairs when I wasn't supposed to, and that I didn't want to face the consequences.
Okay. All right. So what happened next? You're there, you're talking to your mom, you're talking to the policeman. What happened next?
We went home.
Who went home?
Me, my mom, and also she had brought our siblings with her too.
Okay. So the whole family went back home?
Yes.
Do you happen to remember when that was that you ran away and talked to the policeman?
No.
Okay. Well, after you got back home, what happened? What happened next?
My mom had just talked to me, and then nothing happened.
All right. Ricardo, did there come a day when you could no longer leave the closet?
Yes.
Do you know when that was? How long was that, do you think, after you ran away? Was it pretty soon, or was it a long time?
It was a while, maybe a couple months.
All right. So what made it where you could no longer leave the room? Why is that? Why did that happen?
There was a lock on the door.
And did you know that somebody was going to put a lock on the door?
No.
Did your mom or your dad talk to you about putting a lock on the door?
No.
Okay. Well, how did you know there was a lock on the door? Was it on the inside or was it on the outside of the door?
It was on the outside.
Okay. Did you ever talk to your mom and dad about the lock and why it was there or how long you might be there?
No.
Okay. Ricardo, could you get out if you wanted to?
No.
Did you ever try to get out, Ricardo?
No.
Was there a window in your room?
Yes.
Could you open the window?
Before or after the lock was put on the door?
Before.
I think so, yes.
What about after the lock was put on the door? Could you still open the window?
If I had taken the tape off of the window, yes.
Okay. Did you have permission to open the window?
No.
Okay. So with the lock on the door, Ricardo, was there a bathroom inside the closet?
No.
How did you get to the bathroom?
One of my parents would come down to take me to the bathroom.
Oh, how often did they do that?
Usually every time they would come down and bring me food, and sometimes when they would let me go brush my teeth at night.
Okay. How often did they bring you food?
Once or twice. Sometimes they would bring me one meal at a time, and then sometimes they would bring everything at once.
Meaning all of your food for the day at one time?
Yes.
Which way was it most of the time? Did they come down a couple of times a day or just once a day?
A couple.
Okay. So when they came down, did both your mom and your dad come down?
Sometimes, but most of the time it was usually one or the other.
All right. When your parents came down, did they talk with you while they were in the closet with you?
Sometimes.
What did y'all talk about?
I don't remember.
All right. So when they let you out to go to the bathroom, did you get to go out and play with your siblings?
No.
Did you see your siblings?
No.
After the lock was applied, Ricardo, did you ever see your siblings again for a long, long time?
No.
If you had to go to the bathroom and you were in the room, what would you do?
There was a jar that my parents had given me.
Okay, so you could use that if you needed to.
Yes.
All right. Did you ever bang on the door and ask for your mom to come down and let you out to go to the bathroom?
No.
Why didn't you do that, Ricardo?
Because I was afraid that I was going to get in trouble for doing that.
Okay. So she had not given you permission to bang on the door and ask for help?
No.
So Ricardo, when you were in the closet and once the lock was on there, did you still have your DVD player?
No.
Did you have any books?
No.
Any toys? Any Legos?
No.
Any yarn, games?
No.
Okay. So what did you do all day?
Just lay down in my bed.
All right. Could you hear what was going on in the house?
Yes.
Tell us about that. What could you hear?
I could hear my siblings running around and screaming and playing, having fun.
All right. What did you do?
Nothing. I just wish that I was up there being part of it.
Okay. Did you do anything that you got in trouble for in the blue room?
I had been scratching paint off the walls.
Okay. Did that get you in trouble?
It didn't get me in trouble, but my mom was kind of upset about it.
All right. Okay. Ricardo, had your mom painted anything on the wall? First of all, what color were the walls of the room?
Blue.
Okay. Was there anything painted on the walls?
Yes.
And who painted that?
My mom.
Well, what did she paint?
It was the word pride, and it had been a bunch of marks writing like an acronym for pride.
Okay. All right. Did you and your mom talk about that?
Yes.
What did she tell you about the word pride and the other words that were written on the wall?
That it was a dangerous characteristic to have.
It was a dangerous characteristic to have, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And what about the window? Was there anything painted on the window?
Yes.
What was painted on the window?
The window had the word humble on it, and it had also been sprayed over with something, so I couldn't see what was going on outside.
Okay. And when did the window get spray painted?
Same time the lot was applied.
All right. And how much sunlight, Ricardo, could you see coming through that painted over window?
If it was sunny, then it would be a lot of sunlight coming through the window, but if it was like cloudy, it would be like kind of gray.
Yeah. Okay. What about the lights in the closet? Can you describe the lights to me?
There were no lights in the closet.
Okay. Did it get pretty dark at night?
Yes.
Okay. Was it sometimes so dark it was hard to eat?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how long that you stayed in that basement room?
I'd say about 2 years.
Okay. Did you want to come up and play with your siblings?
Yes.
Did you ever ask your parents if you could come up and play with your siblings?
No.
Why did you not, Ricardo?
Because I was accepting the consequences for my actions.
At the time, did you think that your parents were punishing you in the right way?
Yes.
Okay. Were there any sheets on your bed, Ricardo?
Yes.
Did that stop at some point?
Yes.
When did you stop having sheets on your bed?
When they had gotten mold on me from the humidity of the room.
The sheets got moldy from the humidity, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Did she wash them and bring them back to you?
No.
How long were you without sheets? Do you know?
I didn't have sheets ever since they had been taken off the bed.
Okay. Did you get any exercise while you were in the closet?
No.
Did you ever like do push-ups or run in place or something like that?
No.
Okay. What sort of food did you eat while you were in the closet?
Oatmeal, PB&J, and rice, tuna, and beans.
Was that pretty much what you ate every day?
Yes.
Did you ever get any milk?
I did sometimes, but that had stopped.
It had stopped? Okay.
Yes.
Did you get any direct sunlight when you were in the room?
No.
What were you wearing when you were in the room, Ricardo?
Tank top and underwear.
Did you wear the same clothes the whole time?
Yes.
Tell me, Ricardo, did you take showers while you were locked in the closet?
No.
How long do you think you went without a shower?
Ever since the lock had been put on the door, I didn't have a shower until we had to go to court.
Okay. So one day, did a woman that you didn't know come downstairs and get you out of the closet?
Yes.
Do you remember that day?
Yes.
Okay. And after that, how much longer did you sleep in the closet after you saw that lady that you didn't know that came and let you out?
I think it was a day.
Okay. And did you have the chance to talk to those people that let you out of the basement and people that they work with? Have you had the chance to talk with them a lot of times over the last couple of years?
Yes.
And when you talk to those people, have you always told them the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me now, when you got out of the closet and like started doing things again, how did you feel?
I felt kind of weak. Like when I tried to walk, I felt like I was going to fall over.
Okay. Did you have any pain when you tried to walk or play or go upstairs?
Yeah.
Tell me what that felt like.
It hurt in my legs.
Did you finally get over that?
Yes.
So Ricardo, now are you working out and playing basketball?
Yes.
Tell me, how are you liking your basketball?
It's good.
It's good. Okay. All right, Ricardo. Tell me, was it your idea to go live in that closet, or did your mom tell you to go live in the closet?
My mom had put me in the closet after they had cleaned it out.
Okay. And tell me about your dad. Did he know that you were living in the closet?
Yes.
How many times did he come down and see you? Do you know?
Usually when he was bringing down food, sometimes he would come down and talk to me.
Okay. Where was your dad usually on most days? Was he living in the house?
Yes, or working.
Did he work days or nights? Do you know?
He worked nights and mornings.
Nights, morning. Okay. All right. Ricardo, are you enjoying life now?
Yes.
You enjoy school?
Yes.
Are you doing well in school?
Yes.
All right. I'm very proud of you, Ricardo. Your parents are going to have the chance to ask you some questions now. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ricardo.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayfield. Mr. Wimbush, any questions, please?
Hey, Ricardo, how you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm better now.
Okay, you did it. Speak up.
I'm better now. All right. I only got a few questions for you. Okay. As far as the sheets on your bed, did you have a problem with, I guess, urinating at nighttime?
All right, and I'm very sorry, Mr.
No problem with urinating in the bed, peeing in the bed?
No.
Okay. How often did your mom come down and talk to you?
Usually when she would bring down food, and sometimes just to come down and talk to me.
And how long would that be?
I'd say about 30 minutes.
Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter?
Yes.
As far as your oatmeal, what was your oatmeal made of? Do you know? What your mom?
Milk and the packets that she put in it.
Okay. Do you remember going to the jail one time for, I guess it was the supplement that the court had ordered because of you lying to the police?
Yes.
Do you know when that was?
No.
Was it say a month or two after court, or how long?
I'd say a couple weeks after court.
Okay, and that time that was required for you to leave the house, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have. Love you, son.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wimbush. Ms. Wimbush, do you have any questions? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Hey, handsome.
Help us out. You usually speak a little bit louder, so I just want to make sure we can hear you.
Hey, handsome. How are you doing?
Okay. Good.
Now I'm going to ask you some questions. It's so good to see your face and that voice. I'm going to take you back a little bit. Tell me, how did you learn how to play basketball?
I think you taught me.
Did you ever play basketball outside with your parents?
Yes.
Where'd you play?
In the backyard.
In the backyard. Did you ever take tumbling?
Yes.
And when you took tumbling, were you asked to be on the team for tumbling?
Yes.
Did you ever take gymnastics?
Yes.
Did you ever do karate?
Yes.
Do you remember the place that you did karate at?
Yes.
What was the name of it?
Dojo.
Dojo, yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the name?
Dojo.
Dojo.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about before your room got moved down to the basement. Had your room been moved to the basement before? And did you move back upstairs after that?
Yes.
Okay. This last time that your room got moved down to the basement, do you remember things that you were doing prior to that? Do you remember inappropriately touching your siblings?
Objection, Your Honor. The witnesses answered no, that he did not recall.
He was about to answer the question.
Ms. Wimbush, well, she is on cross-examination, so I'm going to give her a little bit of leeway.
Do you
Rephrase your question, please.
Do you remember ever doing anything to harm your siblings?
Yes.
Are you okay with talking about that right now?
No.
No? Okay, understood. Do you remember when we talked about the need to not only protect you, but to also to protect your siblings, to ensure that they were not harmed?
Yes.
Okay. What was one of the things that you disliked the very most?
About what?
What form of discipline did you dislike the very most?
A spanking.
A spanking. And did we make you a deal? Did we come to an agreement of how we could avoid you being spanked so that you didn't have to feel like, or that you didn't have to be spanked because you didn't want to be?
I think so.
Do you remember what that agreement was?
No.
Do you remember that we agreed that if we moved your room to the basement and you could just go down to the basement to go to your room instead of being spanked when everyone else got spanked, that you wouldn't have to worry about getting spanked?
I think so.
Do you remember, well, I shouldn't say do you remember. Let's talk about some of the conversations that we had. Let's talk about the word pride. Do you remember being in Florida in the swimming pool at the hotel?
Yes.
Yes. Do you remember what happened that day?
Yes.
Okay, will you tell us about what happened that day?
I had almost drowned because you had asked me if I had needed help while I was on one of the floaties, and I said no. And I had floated into the deep end and fell off of the floaty.
So you remember me asking you right as you were falling, do you need help?
Yes.
And what did you say?
No.
Why did you say that and you knew you needed help?
Because I wanted to try and do things on my own.
And what happened after that?
I fell off and almost drowned.
And who saved you that day?
You did.
It was on that trip that we made a lot of use of that DVD player. Is that correct? That one of the portable DVD players. You said there were two. What do you remember about the other one?
It was like silver. It was like there's a DVD player in the VCR.
Do you remember that one of them, you said we had two of them. Do you remember that one didn't work and one did work?
I think so now that you say that.
Okay. While your room was in the basement, and let's just talk about this. Did we say that you had to stay in the basement? That your room had to stay in the basement?
That's what I remember.
Okay. So you remember talking about or making an agreement that you could avoid getting spanked by your room being in the basement, and instead of you getting spanked for doing anything wrong, that you would just be sent to your room.
Yeah.
You remember that? Okay. Do you remember having conversations with Mommy about you coming back upstairs?
Yes.
Yes. So when your mommy would ask you if you were ready to come back upstairs, what would you say?
I think I said no.
And
I'm not sure.
yeah, you did. Do you know why you would have said no?
Because I didn't think that you wanted me back upstairs.
Okay. So on the days when mommy would come down and talk to you for long periods of time, what did we talk about? Do you remember? Let me ask that differently. Do you remember talking about how you treat your siblings?
Yes.
Do you remember talking about you being able to just be you, being free?
Yes.
Do you remember talking about that word pride that was on the wall?
Yes.
And the acronyms that were on the wall with the word pride. Will you talk about those? I don't know how much of that you remember at this point, but can you tell me about those words that were on the word pride, as you said, as acronyms?
They were characteristics of pride.
Characteristics of pride. Is pride a dangerous thing to have?
It depends on how and when the feeling of pride is.
Is it so? Let's use an example of if somebody's about to drown and they know they need help and they don't ask for it. Is that a dangerous time to have pride?
Yes.
When so should that person just ask for help?
Yes.
Let's talk about you said there was a word humble. Can you talk about the word humble?
It's like putting yourself not below, but trying to help others before helping yourself.
I have a question for you. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
I said it's like putting yourself down to help others.
Do you remember the story of Rehoboam and Jeroboam?
Can you spell that, please, for the court reporter?
Rehoboam is Reheboam, and Jeroboam is Yaroboam.
Okay, repeat your question for the witness, please.
I'm going to change the question. Do you remember the story about King Solomon's son?
No.
Do you remember reading about the people coming to ask him to relieve the burdens on them?
Yes.
And what was his response to the people? Well, let me ask you this first. The people came and asked him. And do you remember who he went to ask for advice?
Yes.
Who did he ask for advice?
His friends and his father's counselors.
Okay. And his father's counselors told him to do what?
To relieve the burden.
And do you remember what he said? Do you remember that the counselors told him, if you will serve them in this one thing? Do you remember what the rest of that said?
No.
Okay. Do you remember what advice his friends gave him?
They said to make the burden heavier.
I'm sorry. Will you say that again?
They said to make the burden heavier for the people.
And what did he choose to do?
He did what his friends said.
And how did that affect the rest of his kingdom?
The people hated him.
I'm asking you these questions just to kind of show the different things that we talk about in our household, as far as, you know, pride and things like that. Do you remember, let's talk about the book. Let's talk about this first, I'm sorry. While your room was in the basement, do you remember building the Death Star Lego toy?
Yes.
Do you remember where you built that?
In my room.
In your room that was in the basement? Okay. Do you remember having a rocking chair in your room in the basement? Do you remember hiding the DVD player behind?
I'm sorry, Ms. Wimbush, I need, Recardo Wimbush Jr., I need you to give verbal responses for the court, please. If you would not shake your head yes or no, so if you could give your last response, please.
Yes.
Thank you. You can proceed, Ms. Wimbush.
That's where my question was. Do you remember hiding the DVD player behind the rocking chair in the basement, in your room?
Yes.
Were you allowed to watch movies?
Yes. When you ask for permission.
Was there, why didn't you ask for permission to watch movies?
Because I was always afraid that you would say no.
You were afraid that I would say no. I understand. Is there anything wrong with watching movies?
No.
No. Is there anything wrong with reading books?
No.
Let me ask you this question. Did you get in trouble a lot about not asking for permission?
Yes.
Do you remember the other one thing that you got in trouble for the most?
Lying.
Lying. Will you tell us why you lied, Recardo?
Because I never wanted to get in trouble.
You never wanted to get in trouble. Did you feel like the truth would get you in trouble?
Yes.
So were you doing things wrong that you felt like the truth would get you in trouble?
Yes.
So can I ask you this? How were you doing things that were wrong?
I don't remember.
Understood. Do you remember the incident with Hope and the book that you had?
Yeah.
Do you remember what the name of that book was?
Alpha and Omega.
Let me ask you a question, Ricardo.
Sorry, I did not hear his response. Ricardo Jr., if you could repeat your response, the name of the book, please.
Alpha and Omega.
Thank you.
Is there anything wrong with reading the Alpha and Omega book?
No.
If you asked your mom and your daddy if you could have read the Alpha and Omega book, do you think they would have said no?
I don't think so now. But I did think.
When you took the book, how did you get that book?
I had taken it from upstairs.
Were you upstairs playing with everybody else when you took the book?
I was, now that I remember it.
You were. Do you remember how you got that book?
I had taken it downstairs.
Okay. And why did you? Go ahead.
I didn't think anybody else was paying attention.
Why didn't you just ask for permission to take the book down?
Because I didn't think he would say yes.
Did you ask to read other books?
No.
So when the book was found, do you remember who found that book?
You did, I think.
Where was the book found?
In between the mattress and box spring.
So Ricardo, did you tear away the seam of the box spring in order to be able to hide things in it?
No, that's how it was when it was upstairs, I think.
Okay. And once you noticed it was torn away, did you hide things in there? Okay, did you hide the book in there?
No, I had to take the DVD player in there.
Okay. Do you remember when we found out about the book being down there? Do you remember this particular day? Okay.
Was that a yes, Ricardo Jr.?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
I know it's hard, but we do need to be able to take down all of your responses, so thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So you said during that time you were able to play upstairs, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember us asking you questions or asking everybody about where this book was?
Yes.
Yes. And where did you say the book was?
I'm not sure.
Did you say
I think I said Hope was the last person to have it. I think.
Do you remember helping to look for that book?
Yes.
Did y'all look for some time for that book?
Yes.
And while y'all were looking for the book, what were you thinking?
I was worried. Because
Why?
I knew where the book was.
Why didn't you just say that you knew where the book was?
Because I didn't want to face consequences for having taken the book.
So looking back in time, do you find that a lot of times you didn't want to face consequences for your actions?
Yes.
And as a result, is it true that you would then lie?
Yes.
Are there times that you would lie on your siblings?
Yes.
Did you ever consider how that made them feel?
No.
So let's go back to the book night, the book day. So you said Hope was the last one that had it. Do you remember Hope crying because she thought that she lost the book?
No.
No. And when it was revealed that you had taken the book, did you feel any remorse for having lied?
No.
So Ricardo, during the time that your room was in the basement, did your parents talk to you a lot about pride and about doing what is right?
Yes.
And what did you think about that?
That it seemed like it described me. Like being prideful and like doing what was right seemed easy, but it was hard for me.
Did your siblings often tell you, Ricardo, why don't you just do what's right?
Yes.
And how did that make you feel?
Like it was easier said than done.
Understood. Do you remember talking to your mommy about, or us talking about, you coming back upstairs just maybe the day before that first person that Mr. Mayfield mentioned came to our house?
Yes.
Yes. Had we agreed that you were going to be moving back upstairs?
Yes.
Do you remember how we came to the agreement that you would be moving back upstairs?
No.
No. At that point, did you feel like you were ready to move back upstairs?
I wasn't sure.
You weren't sure, but you were ready to try? Were you ready to try?
Yes.
Did you feel like your mommy thought that you were a bad person?
No.
Will you tell me the different names that your mommy refers to you by?
Mr. Wimbush.
Any other? Do you remember your mommy I'm sorry. Do you remember your mommy calling you handsome?
Yes.
Do you remember your mommy calling you phenomenal?
Yes.
Do you remember the phrase that your mommy used to use to refer to you? Everything you touch
Turns to gold.
turns gold. So,
Yes. All right, let's, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a 10-minute recess, and what we'll do is try to come back and conclude this witness's testimony before we take our lunch break. 10-minute recess. All right, Mr. Sapella, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we are going to take a 10-minute recess, so I'm going to ask that you turn off the video and audio feed, and we'll resume in 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right, anything for the record before we recess for 10 minutes, Mr. Mayfield?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Wimbush? No. Mr. Wimbush? All right, 10-minute recess.
the phrases that we used to use to characterize you was Recardo wants to do whatever Recardo wants to do. Do you remember that phrase?
Yes.
Do you remember making an agreement that so long as you were inside of your room, that you would be able to do whatever you wanted to do while you were in that room?
Yes.
But when you came out of that room, that you had to follow the rules of the house. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Did you have a problem with that?
No.
No? Okay. Were you taught to always, 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 always tell the truth?
Yes.
Do you remember how young it was begun to teach you that?
No.
No? Do you remember what Yah said to Cain about doing what was right?
No.
Do you recall him saying, if you do what is right, then you'll be accepted?
Yes.
But if you do not do what is right, do you remember what the rest of that was?
No.
No. Have you been studying scripture much?
No.
No. Let's talk a little bit about the lock that was on the door. Do you remember what kind of lock that was on the door?
It was a sliding lock.
It was a sliding lock. Do you recall that it was a chain latch?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you recall that I ever left the door open with that chain latch on?
Yes.
Yes. Do you remember where the light switch was to your room?
Yes, it was on the outside.
It was on the outside. Where did you come up with the estimate that your room was in the basement for 2 years? How did you arrive at that estimate?
It was just a guess because I didn't know like time and stuff from being in that room.
Okay. How many times have you been asked about the time frame that you were in the room?
A couple times.
A couple times. Okay. Did you discuss with anyone what questions you would be asked today?
Yes.
Okay. What were you told in regards to your parents?
What do you mean?
So when you left, when you were gone from home, what were you told in regards to your parents? Where were you told that your parents were?
I was told that y'all were in jail.
Were you told why we were in jail?
Objection, Your Honor.
Pause for a second.
Objection, Your Honor. Not relevant.
I don't understand the relevance of your question at this time, Ms. Wimbush, so I am going to sustain that question and remind you of the parameters that we discussed.
Okay, thank you. Did you discuss with anyone what your answers would be to the questions that you were asked today?
No.
Okay. Are you afraid of your mommy and daddy?
No.
That's a hard question. Do you remember any times that when we talked down in your room that we would cry together or that we would hug together?
Yeah.
Do you remember at all what we might have been talking about at that time?
No.
No. Do you remember your mommy repeatedly asking you about coming back upstairs?
Now that you say that, I can.
You do.
I'm sorry, Ricardo Jr., if you could repeat your response for me, please.
I said, now that you say that, I can.
Thank you.
Do you remember your mommy ever telling you, Ricardo, you can't stay down here forever?
Yes.
You said that you wanted to be upstairs with everybody else playing. Couldn't you have just told mommy and daddy that you wanted to come back upstairs?
I could have.
And you didn't?
No.
I have a question for you about Isaiah. Do you remember the bump on Isaiah's belly?
Yes.
Do you remember it ever hurting him or bothering him?
I don't remember it hurting him. It bothered me.
Okay. And you might not remember the answer to this question. Do you remember when that bump came up on his belly?
No.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you so much. I love you, handsome.
All right, Mr. Mayfield, redirect.
No, Your Honor.
All right, that will conclude, Mr. Sapella, that is going to conclude this witness's testimony. If you can turn off the video and audio feed at this time for me, please.
Yes, ma'am.